Shalom, everyone, and welcome once again to the channel of Chazak Aliyahu Yasharal. Alright, today we are going to be looking at the likelihood of this conflict in Ukraine turning into World War III. That's the question that's on the minds of a lot of us. Will this turn into World War III? We're going to look at the likelihood. We'll not be making any predictions. We're just going to look on the likelihood based on what is happening in the world and based on what the scripture actually says. All right. So, the question on the minds of many people who are following the deception that is in the world is this a planned war? Because right after the COVID-19 narrative fizzled, then we hear war. Right around the time when we're hearing nations saying, okay, we're going to ease the mandates and, so things can go back to normal. Right after that, we hear this thing being stirred up in Ukraine. And many of us didn't believe that Putin would actually make good on what seemed to be developing when he was amassing his 100,000 troops around the borders of Ukraine. Many of us thought that, just have negotiations and then he just go back home and everything would come back to normal. But that was not the case. He, against expectations, invaded Ukraine on February 24th, 2022. Now, it's very interesting that it's the same people who are involved with the pandemic that are now involved in this war. The countries of NATO and all the major figures are all the people who are posturing for that thing in the arm. And we have the NATO countries, and then we also have Russia, who has their own, and then in the background there we have China, which has their own. So it's very, very suspicious that all of these people involved in this are now involved in this movie. This this thing once again. Because as we speak about movie, let's speak about the Ukrainian president, an actor, comedian, one who played the part of the Ukrainian president in a TV series. He became the president of Ukraine. Does that bring to mind, Donald Trump, who was a reality show actor before he became president? Wasn't it Donald Trump who brought in the CV-19 thing in the US, and now we have an actor right in the middle of a war right after. Anyway, whoa. All right. So, what do we have here? What players do we have here? We have Russia with Vladimir Putin, who has been promoted as a tough man, a serious man, and all of that. Man who doesn't play, an authoritarian. And then we have the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, who is playing the part of the disadvantaged, the abused, the one who's being bullied. Yeah, that's the part that he's playing, and he's striving, of course, to stir up world sentiments, asking the world to come in and help him, knowing very fully well that if the world comes in and help him, then Putin would have to make good on his threat that if the world comes in, then it will be war, it will be world war. So he's trying to get people to come in and help him, people to send him things, and I think, not what I think. All right, let's see. So, at the beginning of the war, Vladimir Putin put his nuclear arsenal on alert early out in the war. I think a few days after, he put his nuclear arsenal on alert. So, Putin, no nonsense Putin, seems to be ready for the war. And he said that he would war if the NATO countries came in to help Ukraine, that he would not hesitate to go to war with them. And he made good on his his image of a no-nonsense man when yesterday, for the first time in the history of the world, a nation launched a hypersonic missile against another nation. Yes, Putin launched a hypersonic missile in the west of Ukraine. So Putin is showing he does not play. He does not play. And this hypersonic missile is very interesting because it is so fast, no radar can track it. Nothing can track it. It's kind of invincible. And it's very interesting that Russia has it, China has it, but the West does not have it. So it is a secret weapon that Russia has. Now, it is not known if NATO has anything to stop it, but yeah, that is how serious this thing is. All right? Now we see the media narrative, and the media narrative is the world being, media being used to get the world to hate Putin and to love Zelensky. Let's stand with Ukraine and all of that. So we have NATO trying to get sentiments to go heavily against Russia. And we see also the NATO countries arming themselves. We see Alemania, Deutschland, Germany, saying that they're going to spend how much billion quickly to get how much aircraft, so much missiles, so much this. And other countries now arming themselves and people striving to see what weapons they can get in order to fight a possible war. Okay? And a few days ago, Russia, a Russian missile landed close to the Polish border. And because Poland is the area through which most of the aid is coming into Ukraine. And the UK, I don't know what position he had in the UK government, but he said that if the Russian soldiers even put a foot on NATO land, then it is going to be war. So we see how close this war is. Very, very, very close. And if you want to know how close it is, let's hear Ukrainian President Zelensky tell us that he's slated to have peace talks with Russia. And if these talks fall through, he said,
Zelensky has now said that an ultimate solution would require direct engagement of the two leaders. And only through dialogue with Kremlin can the brutal conflict be closed. Now, while speaking to American media house CNN, the Ukrainian president said, and I quote, "Dialogue is the only way out. I think it's just the two of us, me and Putin, who can make an agreement on this." Adding, if these attempts fail, that would mean that this is a third world war, unquote.
That would mean that this is a third world war if the negotiations fall through. Now, he did not say maybe it might lead to a third world war or it could lead to a third world war. He said it would. So why is he saying it would lead to world war? It's the same narrative they used with us. We had people out front with the CV-19 scenario telling us that we are going to need a, that was preparing us for it. So when it came, bam, everybody accepted it. Then before that, they said, we are going to go into lockdowns. We're going to go into lockdowns. And they keep telling us that. So when lockdowns came in, bam, we accepted it. These people, they condition us. Conditioning is telling us what is going to happen over and over again until when it comes, we accept it. Okay? He's telling us that if these negotiations fall apart, then we would have a third world war. Now, let us look at the conditions that he's talking about, that if these negotiations do not go through, there will be a third world war. Let's look at the conditions that Russia has set for them to back down from what they are doing. Let's look at the Russian demands. First demand, acceptance by Ukraine that it should be neutral and should not apply to join NATO. That one sounds kind of easy. The second one, Ukraine would have to undergo a disarmament process to ensure it wasn't a threat to Russia. That is a little tougher one to disarm, to make yourself weak. So you have the big neighbor who just attacked you, and then you're going to make yourself even weaker against them. That's not a good one. Number 3, there would have to be protection for the Russian language in Ukraine. That one might sound a little easy. Number 4, to condemn all forms of neo-Nazism and promise to clamp down on them. Okay, that one doesn't sound not so bad. But here we go to the tougher ones. Russia will demand that the Ukrainian government should give up territory in eastern Ukraine. It's in the Donetsk region, where that's a part of Ukraine, but it's primarily Russian language, and they broke away and set up, is it in Luhansk? And the other one, I don't remember the other name. They set up their own republics that are recognized by Russia because they are Russian speaking. Russia wants, and Ukraine does not accept them breaking away. Russia wants Ukraine to just give up those territories. That shouldn't be so easy at all. Then the 6th one is that Russia will demand that Ukraine should formally accept that Crimea, which Russia illegally annexed in 2014, does indeed now belong to Russia. So Russia has fought a war against Ukraine and took away the southern part of Ukraine, called the area called Crimea. And Russia has been ruling that since they want Ukraine to just give up on that area. Just like that. All right? Now, as to whether or not Ukraine will decide on these things, it is left to be seen, but one cannot see it happening so easily. What with Ukraine having the backing of the powerful group NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that group of countries, 29 countries, the most powerful alliance in the history of the world, backing Ukraine. Will Ukraine back down, having the backing of powerful NATO? But he is saying if they do not agree to these, then it will be World War III. That's what Zelensky is saying. We shall see how it develops. All right? So what does the Bible say? All right, the Bible tells us in Revelation 6:1-2 about the first plague. And the first plague is they were given a crown. And the crown there, of course, refers to a corona. So they were given a corona with which they would go conquering and to conquer. Now, after the corona, the second seal is actually war. Let's look at it. Revelation 6, verses 3 onwards. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, "Come and see." And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. So right after corona, what's coming? War. What do we see coming after this corona in this earth? War. What a coincidence. Is this a coincidence? Or is this biblical prophecy being fulfilled? Anyway, red. The horse is red, and we know red stands for blood. Red stands for danger. Red stands for destruction. And we know that in book of Revelation 17 tells us about a scarlet-colored beast. The beast of 7 heads. G7 nations. And all the G7 nations, scarlet-colored, have scarlet in their flags. So let's go back to the flags of the countries who are involved in this. Russia, the main player, their flag is red. The other danger that's lurking in the background, China, their flag is red. Ukraine, blue and yellow. Not in it. But if you look at NATO, 29 countries and 27 of them have red in their flags. Yes? So this is red horse. Red horse. Okay, but let's see what's coming up next. We have to see what's coming up next with this red horse, the implication of this. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balance in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, "A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine." That is the economy. The war is going to be hit and it's going to shake up the economy. Verse 7, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto him over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So that's it. Between the crown, corona, and the war, and the economy, there is going to be famine. There is going to be hunger. There's going to be death. There is going to be destruction by the sword, by war. Yes? This is what the book of Revelation says. And they have been prepping us for famine. They have been telling us, they know that it's coming. They are telling us that it is coming. All right? So, is this World War III? Will this develop into World War III? Who knows? But the scriptures certainly agree. Is this a time for it? Who knows? The players in it certainly seem to want to go to war. So, let's see. But if it is war, it is going to be the greatest. As the Messiah said, the great tribulation such as never been seen and never will be seen again. How can you prepare for it? As you have always been saying, when you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, which is our temple, flee to the mountains. Flee to the mountains. Go somewhere you can grow things by yourself. You can be isolated from this Babylon, because destruction is coming to Babylon. And the Most High told us, warned us, come out of her, my people. Come out of her. All right? So we'll constantly be telling people, leave from the midst of Babylon and save every man his soul. All right? This is Khazak Eliyahu Yasharal here, as we continue to look at these short videos, trying to edify us and to open our eyes as to what is happening in this world and balancing it up with scriptures. Please like, share, comment on this video, all right? And subscribe to our channel if you have not yet done so. Until next time, shalom.